right, everybody, welcome back to our energy report. This is for the January new moon in Aquarius. Let's take a moment to just speak about what we are actually meeting here for each and every moon cycle that we have these reports for. All of the signs have these evolved and devolved versions. And we mostly know each sign for their flaws, right? As a Leo, usually we're known as kind of just about our appearance, about ourselves a little bit. We want to celebrate and party for everybody, but we love our birthdays and, just being in leadership role and stuff like that. Geminis are known as having dual personalities. Tauruses are known as being really stubborn. Aries are known as being really fiery, and so on and so forth, right? And so in the devolved states, we're transferring our power as people to lower levels of operation mentally, emotionally, and energetically. But in reality, every sign has a more mature, more healed side, as well as the wounded, more fractured version. And oftentimes we don't really focus on the higher side or the lighter side that each sign has to offer. So, what happens here is that each moon cycle, we're given the opportunity to work with energies to heal certain aspects of ourselves so that our truths and our purpose can be realized. And when we focus in this way, or at least for me, it just reminds me of why I'm here, why I'm going through all of the things that are showing up for me that I myself have manifested, that I have created for myself, and that are here now to give me this opportunity to bring myself to a more evolved state of being. And how I can then use these situations and these energies best to my advantage, allowing situations and experiences to work with me in my evolution rather than against me, keeping me where I'm at in the suffering. So, all of the air signs, as Aquarius is, have this element of duality to them, just as everything in this world has contrast, right? So, this is about how we explore duality, break it down, and bring it back to a centered place. And although the Tower card in tarot is connected to fire, for me, it just reminds me of that breaking down and rebuilding that needs to be done in order to find new structures and new foundations to stand on. So, Aquarian energy is an awesome place to do this. It's deeply associated with both the collective as well as being your own unique self that doesn't necessarily fit into a box. And this is a place that many of us struggle with, especially as we change and evolve as a person, as we're doing this work, consciously or subconsciously. Quite often, it's a challenge to be supported by those around you who may not be changing alongside you. And so it's harder for them to really understand how you're growing and changing, especially if they've been in your life for long periods of time. This is part of the ascension process that isn't always so pleasant, right? The people, the situations, the jobs, all the things that we've committed to when we were in this more devolved version of ourselves, or younger version of ourselves, or less mature version of ourselves that we committed to at those point in times in our lives, we find as we change, if they don't change with us, they don't serve us anymore. And it's really hard to let that go. As a society, we are very intimidated by change. There is this tremendous fear that comes along with unknown and uncertainties. This is something that I've learned even just through my experiences with Tony Robbins. I went to Unleash the Power Within back in, I think, maybe 2006. I was around 24, 25 years old. And there are these basic human needs in order for us to feel safe. And one of those needs is certainty. Because as humans, we crave control and certainty in order to feel safe. It's the reason why we love rewatching movies and shows, for example. We know every line, every scene, and all that's going to happen. And when we do this, when we put ourselves in these experiences where we know exactly how they're going to play out, we're strengthening that part of us that craves control and certainty. In those moments, we may be using this technique as a way to escape the external changes happening within and around us that we don't have control over. And so we find safety in bringing ourselves to places that resemble more certainty, which typically translates to stability. So, my first challenge for you with this new moon energy will be to escape less into the known parts of life and start making yourself comfortable with the aspects that you're quite unsure about, as this level of exploration is supported really deeply with this energy. This is a big turning point with this new moon in 1 degree of Aquarius, which is a position celestially that's very much about fresh beginnings. So I'm going to take a moment to dial it back a bit because the cycle of energy we're moving into right now, that's being shifted towards us even, is actually pulling together various strengths that began in 2020. So we're going to go back now. And here's why. There was this Pluto-Saturn conjunction that began at the beginning of 2020. A conjunction in astrology just describes two separate points in the solar system that unite and blend their energies together. And when this happened in the beginning of 2020, it gave us the realization that we are all connected by air. The air that we breathe, the air that we exchange. And it gave us the understanding that we are connected by these invisible forces. This was the beginning of a mass awakening in so many ways. And by the end of 2020, we had the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn at 0 degrees in Aquarius, kicking off this Aquarian energy that we are feeling come together now as it's coming full circle. So let's talk about how this is affecting us. Aquarian energy unites us to come back home in new ways, to ask some really deep questions so that we can come back home to ourselves and realize what truly matters at this time, at this new level of awareness. Think about how you have grown and changed since the ending of 2020. What shifted in your life? Where your feelings are at with certain people, certain situations, right? Things that were once a constant in that old energy has now shifted for you with all of this expansion that has occurred since then. The world is very different now than it was at the beginning of this Aquarian cycle. This moon energy will be a beautiful time for some deep inquiry and really see where we stand now with this new level of information and awareness that we have. With the full moon 2 weeks ago, we started working on some really deep inner child healing. So even in the last couple of weeks, you may have had some major shifts for you as you have healed some old wounds that have been lingering for quite some time. If you're connected with me on my Patreon, then you know I've had some personal stuff that I've shared that has been culminating and with me for my entire life, most specifically surrounding my financial structures and my business and the way in which I took responsibility for other people's finances in regards to creating my own price structure. And that was a big deal for me to come to conclusion with because I've always wanted to protect all of my clients and keep them at a certain pay rate that made sense for them, that didn't have to make looking good and feeling good a luxury. But at the same time, I've slowly been spiting myself in my own worth just because I've been trying to take care of all of the people that have supported me on my journey this whole time. And so as I have started to shift that notion for me and really come to terms with my value, how I need to be valued, how I need to focus on my retirement as an entrepreneur, as I acquired an injury in December, also was like the catalyst for me to start to truly consider that I have no benefits that are paid for, no sick time, no vacation time, no mental health days. I can never just wake up and be like, I need a mental health day, so I'm going to take today to recover. I have to show up each and every day at full capacity because that's the way that I like to regard myself. And so because of this, I have to really work to figure out now, as I'm turning 40 this year, how to protect myself financially and otherwise mentally, emotionally, energetically, by not overextending myself in ways that maybe served me 10 years ago when I built this business initially, but now have to change. And as I came to these realizations, it started to shift other things in my life that I couldn't have even imagined were connected. One of those things is just deep generational curses that I'm seeing now in my mom, for example, who just recently told me over the last couple of weeks, had this like huge epiphany as I'm simultaneously doing my work about how she's done with smoking after 50 years. She's like, I'm just done with it. I don't need it anymore. This is my last pack of cigarettes. It's over for me. I'm ready for something new. And so it was just like a beautiful way for me to be validated that the work that I'm doing for myself to heal my past wounds, to connect with my inner child stuff, and also the work that I'm doing is healing not just my own stuff, but also my generational stuff that was passed down and handed to me because the universe knew that I was capable to break these cycles that the generations before me could not. And so those are big, big, big realizations for me. And as I'm doing this work with the energies, with the moon, and with my own psychology, with my own actions in the real world, and how I want to hold and carry myself, it's just spilling over into all of these aspects in my life in such a beautiful way. So, my intention here is always to share in these things with you guys to hopefully bring you the same depth to your story, because everybody is affected and impacted by these energies in kind of the same way, but our stories are all unique in their own ways. So I thank you guys for, showing up here time after time again to work with these energies, to heal these old wounds, and to really make yourself vulnerable in ways that, maybe other people and circumstances just can't support us. Building this community here means everything to me. And so this is the level of healing that's now giving us the space to really thrive in our change and who we are as the more emotionally stable adult version of ourselves. Woo! Nice. So if you're feeling stuck on something or stuck in a place in your life right now, this is the beautiful energy to make some new connections to help you move through this. It may look like new support systems like talk therapy, maybe even receiving a tarot reading or a Reiki session just to help process some of this old energy that's still cycling through the body and through the mind. As a Reiki practitioner and master teacher trainer, I really understand that when I offer Reiki sessions to another person, not only am I not the one healing them, they are just being open now to healing themselves, but it's also opening me up to all of this healing as well. So it's really just a beautiful exchange. And sometimes we need that extra support to kickstart the energy that's kind of stuck and stagnant and stale, that maybe we're not quite sure what to do with it or how to work with it or how to release it and let it go because it's been a part of us for so long that we just need a little assistance to kind of trigger it, kickstart it, and move it out of the way. Flush it through the system and let it become a release back out to the universe. Send it back home rather than keep it so tight and so safe within our bodies that spills out into reactions and really just traumas of the mind that it needs to go. Oftentimes we need a little assist to move it around, and that's okay. And I think it's really beautiful and really important to remember that we're not meant to do this work alone. So for those of you that are on my Patreon, every 6 weeks, we do a karma clearing Reiki meditation where we learn that what I carry is not mine to carry alone. It's just a beautiful remembrance of that. And there's a beautiful support system that's just waiting for you to be available to assist you. This may be the time for you to focus on this level of your healing and allow all of the connections of energy all within and around you to be elevated to a higher reset. Aquarius offering us that reminder that we're connected to and by the invisible forces. So working with that energy at this time may resonate for you in bigger and deeper ways now more than ever. So, finding someone who takes steady and consistent focus on working with elevating energy may be just the type of life force you need to elevate you to higher spaces and ride this Aquarian wave. So, just consider that if you know any Reiki practitioners or have that, available to you, it can be done online, it can be done in person. Just consider how that could maybe help you during this time. So, the work we are tapping into here with Aquarius is that of letting go of our rigid control of how we think we need to perform or how we think we need to show up while playing certain roles. The shape in which we have been holding ourselves is actually limiting now. And now is the time to see that more clearly. Through this new moon, we are tapping into releasing of old structures and the beginning of new futures. So many life areas are being triggered by this moment. And depending on where you have activity in your chart, it will affect everybody differently. As I said, everybody has a different story. The interesting part about connecting and understanding this celestial energy is that we're all affected by it. It's just that our stories around the energy are all unique and different. And that's how beautiful it is to remember that you are a thought of the universe in your own unique way. No one is like you. No one's story is like yours. No one acts like you. No one loves like you. No one shares like you. So just be comfortable with being your own unique self because you're awesome. We are all being affected by the energy at this time with the huge shift in the 2020 air signs. And this huge gust of air energy is now coming our way, a huge turning point in 2023. Where many of you may feel as though you're living between two worlds right now, the old archaic world of the past and the new world that hasn't quite manifested itself yet. So if you have felt like something is coming, you're damn right about that. Examining where we rebel and where we hold on to routine is going to be dynamic to bring awareness to during this time. We oftentimes get frustrated by certain things and it makes us want to rebel. Eventually, that rebellion becomes a routine, playing out over and over and over again. And as we know, our habits shape our lives. So I found myself saying this a lot lately to my students. We are manifesting always, not just when we want to or when we decide to focus on it a little deeper. We are manifesting always. So our habits, our routines, and even the ways in which we rebel to deal with challenges is all creating our lives to show up for us as they are. It's up to us to accept the challenge to recognize this and choose higher. So how do we create routines that express and honor our changing selves, especially in a world that tends to stay very stuck, very stagnant, and limited? And especially now that we have a deeper understanding of what we're working with, now what do we do? Well, that's what we'll cover in our activation meditation over on my Patreon. So if this is a conversation that lands with you and that you would like to continue with and go even deeper, come on over and check that out. Activation is coming out tomorrow, January 20th, just in time to sit with and process and make space for Saturday's new moon. So thank you so much for having this conversation with me. I hope to see you there. And remember, you're always seeing this message exactly when you're supposed to be. So even if it occurs after the new moon, know that you're ready for this level of healing and evolution whenever the time is right for you. And we honor and respect that always. Namaste, guys.